So let me start. So welcome everybody. My name is Libby Robinson. I'm the Director of Coach Training here at the Advanced Coaching Practicum. We are a global accredited coach training program with the International Coaching Federation. I'm joined here by Lauren Smith, who's our programs coordinator. And before we introduce ourselves, or we want to really have you talk about it. So I'm going to have you just do a little check-in. And Rick, I'm going to ask you to go first, and then Joachim, and then Cecilia, which is just a name, where you're based in the world, and if you know what credential you're most interested in, or what credential you're most interested in, and what you'd like to get out of today's session. So Rick, could I have you go first?
Yep. Sorry, just taking a second to get on here.
No problem.
Yeah. So Rick Turner, I actually split time between Virginia and Utah. I happen to be in Virginia today, so I am on the East Coast. And I am interested in the accelerated PCC class. So I have a certification. I did a certification program probably about 10 years ago with Georgetown. I've also done an additional certification program. It's just my day job didn't allow me to do a lot of formalized coaching. And so I've got a lot of hours, but I haven't tracked them all and just haven't found a way to really get the ACC going. So I'm very interested in the accelerated program to be able to jump to PCC, because I've got a lot of coaching experience. I just don't have the credit for it, I suppose.
Okay, great. Thanks. I think we can help you. Great. Joachim, just, a little bit about you and what program, and anything else you want to get out of this program or this call today.
It looks like he's dropped off, Libby.
Oh, okay. All right. And Cecilia, I haven't heard your voice. Hope you're there. Kind of interesting. Cecilia's not there. Okay, Rick, it's going to be really easy for us, because it's going to be us. We usually have a few people, but if Joachim, keep an eye out, Lauren, if Joachim comes back.
Okay.
So Rick, I'm gonna do my thing, and if Joachim or anybody comes back, I'll let you know. But we might be able to do this in less than an hour.
Look at me, one-on-one already. I don't even have to pay for this. So.
You're a star. Yeah, we can spend a lot of time with you. So again, what we're going to do is a check-in, welcome check-in. What's the ACP about? What are all the different programs, schedule, that sort of thing. We can run through that quite quickly. So we've already done that. So the Advanced Coaching Practicum. So let me tell you a little story about the Advanced Coaching Practicum, which is, we didn't start out to be a coach training school. We started out as a community of practice. So I was trained as an ontological coach. I was out there coaching in the world, and had obtained my MCC, Master Certified Coach. And I just was realizing a lot of us were coaching alone and not getting a lot of feedback. And I felt like I'd had a couple of new distinctions that I wanted to share with colleagues. And so I just called around to a few people and a few students of mine and said, hey, would it be useful if we all got together? And that was 11 or 12 years ago. And we got together, we did a gathering where, I ostensibly taught or facilitated all the classes. And we did this like September through June, and they were like, oh my gosh, that was great. And there was lots of interactivity. It's not like Sage on the Stage, lots of really interesting back and forth. And at the end of that year, they said, well, Libby, can't we get CCEU credits for this, which is Coach Continuing Education Units? Hi, Delta. I'll get to you in just a second. I'm going to finish my story. And so I was like, I don't know, is that hard? We kind of scratched our head, called the ICF. Turns out it wasn't very hard. We were able to document everything. So the next year, and for several years after that, we kept adding classes, and we adding teachers and different people from this ontological perspective, which I'll get to in a sec. And a few years later, the ICF called us and said, we hear you have this program called the Advanced Coaching Practicum. You have everything you need to be a coach training school. I'm like, yeah, but that's not what we do. busy over here with leadership development and executive coaching. This is kind of just our playground for our coaches, consultants, and facilitators. And they were like, well, it's not that hard. You just sort of do X, Y, and Z and pay us some money. And lo and behold, a year later, we were what's called ACSTH, which is accredited coach specific training hours. So it's everything except being able to knock people on the head to give them the actual diploma, because the ICF can do that. You can be one level higher. Georgetown now is one level higher at ACTP. We are now at all of those equivalents. And I'll explain that in a bit. So this has always been a community of practice where really passionate coaches come together. Sometimes there are people, maybe like yourself, Rick, that don't have the formal ICF thing, but I've been out there coaching for a while and getting really good feedback. And there are other people that are just lifelong learners that I want to get there. So I want to stop and Delta. We just did a little. There were a couple of other people that dropped off the line, and we still haven't heard from Cecilia yet. She might have problems with her microphone, but we were just having people introduce themselves, say where you are in the world, what accreditation, if you're interested in anything you'd want to get out of this session.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for being late. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I am ACC certified, have been for about 2 years, and have been coaching for a little over almost 4 years. I got into coaching because of an executive that asked me to coach him, and I did it informally, but he said, I want you to give me a proposal. So I'm kind of a stickler. So I decided I better get certified. I'll coach him, and I'm going to go ahead and do this, but I'm going to get certification. So my hope is I know I need to work toward making sure I get the credits I need to maintain the certification. I want to move toward PCC. And I'm also studying another coaching add-on tied to positive intelligence that I've got a lot of things blending right now, but I want to go ahead and get on that track for PCC. So thank you for letting me jump in a little bit late here.
No worries. And I'm just going to give a shout out to Cecilia. Maybe you can message her as well, Lauren, just in case she does get her microphone sorted. We're happy to have her. Thank you. So let me keep going here. So I kind of, again, sort of told the story. We're really a community of practice. Our mothership, if you will, is called Integral, which is our 18-year now company where we have 250 coaches, consultants, facilitators, designers worldwide, where we work with Fortune 500 type companies, global, international companies. And this has been always our community of practice. So we're in our 11th year. We love to learn and share and make coaches even better. There's a lot of people out there that just hang out a shingle and say they're a coach. And there are lots of different forms of coaching. We think the ontological methodology is an add-on. It's really, it doesn't take away anything from what you've learned, but it gives you new distinctions in the world. And we have also, we don't want people not to attend financially, and we'll talk about that later, but we have both diversity and merit scholarships for people. Obviously we don't have an unlimited supply of those, but we do have some. So that's just a little quick overview about the advanced coaching practical. So unlike other companies, that's all they do, that's what they do for a living. This is more a passion project, so that we're a smaller group of community of learners, and we're intense about it, and you can really customize it to make it what you want. So you have heard me talk about this word ontological. So we come from in level 1 and level 2, we come from an ontological approach. Level 3, we mix all schools all together for people going for their master certified coaching program. So ontological is a big, funny, fancy word that just means the study of the way of being, And that can be of an individual, of a group, a team, an organization, but how that entity sees the world. And there's a French writer, Anais Nin, that said, we do not see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. So if we are someone who's fearful, we see the world as a dangerous place, you know. There's lots of different ways, but that our observer is not neutral. It has a sense of what the world is or what is true for them. So I'll tell you the wine story, and it's a true story. So I lived for 26 years in France. Before I went to France, I knew that there were basically 3 or 4 different kinds of wine. There was red wine, there was white wine, there was rosé wine, there was champagne, kind of bubbly stuff, whatever, Prosecco. When I went to France and lived in France for a while, where they drink a fair amount of wine, I started to really understand the distinctions between a Burgundy and a Bordeaux and an Entre-deux-Mers and a Chablis and those kind of things. So ontological coaching is a way of helping the coach have more distinctions, more ways of seeing and observing their client so that they can open more doors of possibility for their client, obviously through coaching methods, not from them doing something. So ontology has 3 main domains of learning, or not the only domains of learning, but they're kind of like the big buckets. And the big buckets are, I'll start with linguistics. Have either one of you studied linguistics? So a little bit. So it's a technology of language. It's essentially the architecture of your language. We think often of language as being descriptive, but language is also action. It generates new realities. So we, and if any of you have done any NLP, that linguistics is part of that. So we look at this technology of language, which is assessments, assertions, requests, offers, promises, declarations, counter offers, all these things, so that you can start to see the narrative that the client lives in. And so we all, I have a phrase that I say when I'm passionate about something, I'm like, that's my story and I'm sticking to it, right? And it's a story. A lot of what we do is we create our worlds and we tell ourselves how we believe the world is, and we tell our friends how the world is and that sort of thing. So we live in our own narrative. And so narrative isn't wrong. We're all storytellers in some way. It's just that for the coach, if you can start to see whether something is an assessment, a grounded assessment, or a true or false assertion, you have more capacity to ask better questions to the client in the domain of language. The second bucket, and again, they're not in any priority order, I'm just going this way, is the domain of emotions. And so what we say is that emotions are sort of the music behind the words, right? So you could say thanks, or you could say thank you very much, which has a different, the utterance and the emotion behind it will be different, right? You can say kind of a perfunctory thanks, or you could, show heartfelt, gratitude using, actually, I use different words, but actually the same words. So looking at someone's moods and emotions. So we talk about emotions rise and fall, excuse me, emotions rise and fall, throughout your day. And moods are kind of like a backdrop. They're like kind of constantly there. It's a habitual emotion, if you will, that will stay there. And so having a teacher of mine, a coaching teacher of mine said, most people can basically distinguish mad, glad, and sad. Mad, glad, and sad is pretty much the emotional realm. So if we're able to help our clients have a larger emotional distinctions, like, are they anxious or are they eager? Like, what is the story they're telling themselves, where the bodily sensation may be the same, but what they name it is what they habitually name it, right? So we talk about in ontology, which is the phenomenon is not the same as the description of the phenomenon. So we want to be able to help the client separate out sometimes what we call collapsed distinctions between what they see and what they name instantaneously as a thing. So there's a lot there, in the emotional realm, and sometimes just being very, very present, just noticing if somebody looks down or they look away when they say a word, or they slow down or something. And you just like, what's there? What just happened? And some of my best coaching has been in those moments where I've noticed something really small in the emotional realm, a slight tremor in someone's voice, or something where there's something behind what they're saying, and we want to allow them to feel safe enough to drop into that and tell us what's behind those words, rather than just assuming that we know what those words mean. And then finally, the third domain is the somatic domain, and soma is just the Greek word for body. So somatics is basically the study of the body as a place of learning. Rick, you got a baseball cap on or some kind of cap on, so I'm thinking you're a sports guy. So, the body is a place of practice. If you practice any sport, you'll know that there's certain things that start to, the body does of its own self. I am a horsewoman, and I am studying dressage. I was actually a national champion at equestrian many years ago. I'm studying a new discipline, which is dressage. And so starting to, watch my body have these habits and practices, but noticing little small signals in my body. So noticing little small signals in the coach's body, using the coach's body as a tuning fork, and also being able to help the client notice what's going on in their own body. Where do they feel contraction? Where do they feel release? Where do they feel heat or cold or tension, or any of those things can be clues to what else is going on for them. So those are the three main buckets: language, emotion, and body. And we talk about it often as body, emotion, and language, but whatever way. Let me stop there off my soapbox. Any questions from the two of you so far?
I was just going to make a comment with horses. You don't have much of a choice. Like, they read your body way better than you are. So you're communicating things that you didn't even know you were communicating.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very interesting to kind of the parallels also that we as humans, we pick up a lot of cues and language from people. I mean, sorry to use the words because we're trying to make distinctions, but your body has a language that we interpret before even somebody says anything. So
right, there's lots of pre-conscious processing. Absolutely.
One thing that comes to mind as you're talking about this is that as a coach, I think there are times when we feel like we might be crossing a boundary if we elect to reflect that we've noticed something like that. And so it sounds like what you've delved into is making that legitimately something that if you can do so correctly, that it's not invasive and can be very helpful. I mean, I reflect. I can, when somebody, is tear is shed or whatever, I can say, something's hitting you a little hard there. Can you tell me about that?
Mm-hmm.
But that's about as far as I comfortably can go, because I can leave a session surmising certain things about what I think might be happening with that person and worrying a little bit for them. But being able to do that in a more careful way, an appropriate way, skillful way, but not taking it, getting out of your own territory, because we're not therapists. We're not here to deal with mental health issues. But there's that line, and that I'm studying some things related to that mental wellness piece right now. Mm-hmm. Figuring out how, as a coach, you can be effective, but also stay in your lane appropriately too, is one thing I think a lot about.
Yeah. Well, I would say ontological coaching gives the coach tools and ways of being to support that and to know where you can go. I've met many coaches that are like, oh, we stay far away from emotions. And I'm like, the emotions are in the person all the time. So, as long as I've seen coaches also go very, very deep. I tend to go very, very deep. I've also had 25 years of therapy, so I feel like I have some space there, but I do not cross over into the therapeutic line. But I don't have any fear whatsoever about asking someone not to surmise, but to tell me what they're feeling in the moment. And if I feel like they need a referral, that's what we have, ethical classes for, about, when do we do that and how do we do that? And, what's the best way to do that? But absolutely. So there's definitely room here to work safely in the emotional domain. And also, even if it's you're working here and you have just a couple of few ways that you work in the emotional domain. And as you build your coaching muscle, you'll see that you'll be able to tiptoe in a little bit more when it's called for, when the client is open to it. So a couple of other distinctions in ontology or ontological coaching. I'm guessing that, you may, both of you may have had some experience either in martial arts or yoga or some sort of body discipline, hopefully. So we think of, center, like in yoga, like what does it mean to be centered? That person is really centered, right? So in some ways you can say, well, okay, I'm not leaning forward and I'm not leaning back. We can have a physical center. And in Aikido, they talk about the hara, which is just a little bit below your belly button. And hara just means belly in Japanese. So it's that place is your kind of center of gravity. You can have a center of your height. You can have a center width-wise. You can have a center sort of depth-wise. But there's also things like in ontology, we talk about the center of language as silence, that the space between the notes is just as important, right? So the space between the words, the silence between the words is a part of language. Talk about the center of emotions as being compassion. And then I just kind of physically showed you center of body. So we look at helping coaches become more centered so that when a client does something that they're not expecting, they have a way to kind of go, oh, that's interesting. What's next, right? Rather than going, oh my God, what's my next question? Or, what do I do now? But really coming back into themselves. And ground, I don't know if, anything about electricity, but, grounding is so that you kind of don't get shocked if there's excess energy. How is it in the face of something unusual or emotional? Let's just say you have a client that does break down in front of you, does cry and is very upset or is angry at someone. How do you not take that personally? How do you allow that energy to come out and then be dispersed in a way that there's no harm to you or the other person? So we talk about distinctions in our somatic classes around center and ground. And I've already talked about the technology of language, and just we talk about also in ontology breakdowns. Now, breakdowns are not like nervous breakdowns. And so breakdowns are an interruption in the flow of expected life, an interruption in the flow of life. So I want to give you this example, Delta. I'm just going to pick on you if that's okay. I want you to imagine that you're working for some big organization and you've got a boss and you're working at your desk and she says, I need to have you step into my office. And you're like, oh, okay. And you've been doing great work and getting, and she sits you down. She says, I'm not going to have you lead this team anymore. And you go like, your first thoughts are, oh my God, I'm getting fired. What happened? And she said, because my boss's boss saw you 2 weeks ago do your presentation and they want you to come and work for them. So the first part of the first breakdown is from your perspective, oh my God, why am I getting called into my boss's office? Could be slightly, am I getting fired? The second breakdown is, I'm not going to lead this team anymore. But then the third breakdown is because something, my boss's boss is, thinks you're so fabulous. So breakdowns don't have to be a breakdown as in a negative occurrence. Same thing, Rick, you could be going along just fine. And then you win the Powerball. And that, of, I don't know, I'm $200 million or something, right? That's a breakdown as well, because what you were expecting to do this week or next week or the rest of your life may now be changed, possibly by this event. Not necessarily it's your choice. So we look at, we say that there's no coaching if there's no breakdown. So what usually happens is people come to coaching because something happened in their life that they weren't expecting. Could be positive, could be negative, or they're not getting the results they want with their current way of being, with their current observer. And so that is causing a breakdown for themselves. Like I'm expecting to be here and I'm not here. And I want more of this, or I don't want more of that. So that's usually what people come in with. So ontological coaching, as it says here on the kind of second column, is producing a different observer, like how someone sees themselves and what possibilities that they have in the world can be expanded. And then they are always a choice about, how they want to move. But often people get stuck and they can only see choice A or choice B, looks like a double bind, that sort of thing. And then the last thing here is we're never trying to solve the presenting issue. I can't tell you how many people, have said to me things like, I need to be better at time management. And if I was just going to coach on the first thing that they told me, I would be an expert in trying to solve people's time management issues. And usually my answer, my first question is, what's your relationship to control? What's your relationship to delegation, right? So often it's not what they say, but we need to create a relationship in a crucible so that what's underneath and what we can see their observer, then we can see why this shows up as a breakdown for them. So that's a lot of ontology. I just gave you a lot all in a 5-minute capsule here. This is what you'd be learning about if you come and work with us. So I don't expect it to be completely clear. Comments, questions?
As you're talking about this, I'm trying to relate it back to recent coaching conversations. And how does this tie in, or does it tie into a situation where you're coaching someone who is they've focused on a specific thing. I have my example I recently had is someone they were in a work scenario, had to do with an executive who has a lot of issues with communication. Mm-hmm. And he's very brusque, he's very smart, really is smarter than everybody in the room, and is very abrupt with the way he communicates. So we're working on that. And during that conversation where we were breaking that down, he referenced he's moved completely into a personal area, which I don't even know what brought it up for him. I had to go, what just happened here? He said, my wife, it was Christmas, and it was after Christmas, and he said he was at home and they needed to take the decorations down. And he said, can you believe she decided at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to take a nap? And we need to get these decorations down and needed to get these down, and she took a nap. And I said, well, tell me a little bit more about what happened there. And so what he did was he took all the decorations down, he put them up, and got everything put away. And then when she got up, she was a little angry with him for not being involved in that, because she liked to organize in the way she did. But to me, what was glaring was what we just talked about in the work scenario was exactly what he did. He's a control freak, and his way is the highway, or the highway, that kind of thing. So I'm trying to figure out how that would play in as related to a breakdown, and what you would recommend as far as processing and handling that. Because I didn't say to him, do you realize what you did there is just like that? I said, let's think about what you just shared and think about what we were talking about previously. And I just went silent, and he figured it out really quickly. He said, I do the same thing at home.
Right.
As I do at work. And I said, is that the way to feel it? But anyway, that was a very awkward, in some ways, situation. And I had to really stop myself from concluding what I was perceiving to happen. Mm-hmm. But does it tie to breakdown at all?
Yeah. And so the breakdown happens in the observer. It's not the actual physical action, right? The breakdown is not that she took a nap. It's that his observer, the way he was believing, is like, that wasn't acceptable to him. That wasn't what he was expecting to happen. That's the breakdown for him. It's not a breakdown for her. The breakdown for her is that she didn't, declare or make a request that she wanted to arrange the ornaments, right? But I think that you're very good to have stopped yourself there. And I don't want to go in deeper to that, because it's, you'll need to understand more about the different distinctions. But what this allows someone to shift. So the fact that he already noticed that he does the same thing in home and work, then you get to look at, like, what are the triggers of that behavior, and what happens to him emotionally, and what are some of the opportunities for him to center and ground, and then have a practice to work with. So ontological coaching, as I was saying, I'm not sure if you were here for this, but it's additive. It doesn't it doesn't take away from any of your previous coach training. It adds a layer of distinctions on so that you have more possibilities to move as a coach, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Great. Rick, anything on your side?
No, it's pretty straightforward. We, in my coaching training, we hit a number of these things, with the, language, emotion, somatic. So this would be an opportunity to be able to have a deeper dive and a little bit of a reentry for me as far as a refresher on, a new or not a new lens, but a lens to bring back into my coaching.
Great. Awesome. We just have someone joining us now. I want to just give them a chance to. Shane just showed up in the, there you go. Let's get his audio going. Hey, Shane. Can I hear your voice just so we know we can hear you?
Hi, yes, good morning.
Okay, good morning. Hey, we've been going for about a half an hour here. So just so you know, Lauren, wave your hand, Lauren. Lauren will give you you'll get the recording of this too. So we're a little bit far down the track, but I'd love to hear just, your name, where you're from, and what you think what program, if you think you might be interested in taking, or anything else you want to get out of this session.
Sure. Good morning. And first of all, sorry for being late. I'm in a different time zone and not of my normal time zone, so I wasn't
No worries.
prepared. But I'm a surf instructor and I'm interested in doing professional surf coaching.
Great. And I think you've spoken with, I think, Lauren or Mitch. So obviously we're not actually, I surf, but not very well, but we're not specifically around surf coaching, but you may find this approach interesting, and we can wrap back around to you on that. So let me keep going here. We were just talking about kind of the distinctions in ontological coaching, using body, emotion, and language as being part of the way, the entrance points of how we coach people. So this really gets into the nitty-gritty of all the different programs. So we have basically 6 programs. This says foundations of learning. It's foundations of ontological learning. Just so note to self, Lauren, we need to get that box fixed on these slides. Level 1, level 2, level top up, level 2 accelerate. So Delta, you might be interested in the level 2 top up because you're already ACC. And Rick, you've already said that you're interested in the level 2 accelerate, which is basically going from soup to nuts, A to Z, to get your PCC. Level 3 is for people that are already very well experienced PCCs that are going for their master certified coach program. And there is a kind of a mix and match, create your own program kind. And Lauren, you're getting that funny 1950s TV video on for a sec. I don't know what's going on there. So let me just start here. I think I want to start on the left-hand side, which is what's important for people to know is we use a dojo approach to learning. And that means level 1 and level 2. So ACC and people that are going for their PCC actually work together. And I'll just tell you this quick story. It's a true story. I used to live in France for 26 years. I have a son. When he was about 9 years old, I wanted to put him into martial arts, and I particularly like Aikido. And so I walked a couple of blocks down, went to the local dojo. They didn't have it for his age, so I signed up for the adult program. Went over to the sports store, bought my gi, came back a week later, walked onto the tatami, and there were 25 black belts and me, who had never taken a martial arts class in her life. And they all just looked at me like I had 3 heads. But I did everybody does everything on the mat, no matter where you are. You do the same warm-up exercises, and they would partner with me, and I was terrible, but we would do that. And so In the level 1 and level 2 programs, we have people that have never been coaches before. And we have people, like yourself, Rick, and Delta, that, maybe have 2, 3, 4, 5 years of experience, maybe more in some cases, or have been coaching for years. And that mix really allows this really interesting learning to come from all levels. These are the 3 main programs. I think, again, the benefits are, so again, the dojo approaches, I just started on the Tuesday night that I wanted to start. And so you can start your program whenever you're ready. It's not like there's a whole cohort that starts in September and all finishes in June, because we believe that everybody, we can blend it into people's lives better if they're able to start when they're ready and kind of mix and match. So you start anytime, you finish anytime. You can, Lauren has the information on how many classes you can do live. We prefer that you do as many classes live as possible, but if you happen to miss one, there are the recordings, and you can do a certain, what they call asynchronous learning. What they, meaning the International Coach Federation. So if you're in a different time zone, Shane, and for whatever reason you can't make the live class, totally fine, because you can get the recording. So just so you know that. And let me just jump over here for a sec. So I have 3 slides on this. The foundations of ontological learning. If you are a coach but have not had ontological training, this is a great place to start. In any case, wherever you start, if you're in a level 2 top up or level 2 accelerate, you will get this. So everything that I did in that 5-minute spiel around what is ontology is kind of concentrated into these first 9 classes. And I say first 9 because they're actually, where are we, class 3 or 4, Lauren, now? We just started
3.
a group, February group 3. So if you started, you get those 6 classes, live right away, which would help your understanding quite a bit. So I'm going to, Shane, you might be interested in the level 1 class. I don't know. It'll depend on you. You don't have any other coach, ICF, International Coach Federation accreditations, do you?
No, it's my first time. I'm white belt.
Okay, great. So let me
I
just
think, sorry, I think Cecilia's just joined us as well.
Oh, awesome. Cecilia, I can't see you. Are you there? If you are there, Cecilia, let me hear your voice, because I can't see you. Oh, there you are. Now I can see you. Wonderful. Hello.
I am at work, so I can't really talk too much.
Okay, but
Sorry for
great.
being late, but I'm
No
happy to
worries.
join here.
Okay, and we'll send you the recording. Lauren will send you the recording so you can hear more. So we're just getting into the kind of nitty gritty of the program. So back to Shane, if you don't have a coaching certification yet, this would be the place to start for you, this or one other place, which, so you need 60 hours of coach training, plus 100 coaching hours, but this would be the place to start. We actually give you way more than you need in the level 1. We're kind of obsessive like that. Wanting to make sure you have a really strong foundation. So this includes the ontological webinars. You get coached. One of the first things that you do once you come into a program is you actually get coached by a coach who is certified. You get group mentoring, where you get to listen to other people talk about their coaching clients. You get one-to-one mentor coaching, and you get what we call observed coaching sessions, which is where you're going to be recording sessions with a client. And then your mentor coach will help you, because ultimately, in order to get your certifications, you need to submit a recording, either to us or to the International Coach Federation, so that we know that you're covering all of the competencies of associate certified coach. That's what ACC stands for. So any questions on that? Just
I think that sounds great. I don't think I have any questions at this time.
Okay, no worries. And I won't always pick on you, just as a kind of if anybody had a question. So let me go forward here, because these next two are interesting for Rick and for Delta, and I don't know yet for Cecilia, but that's okay. So level 2 top up, let me speak to that because that's for you, Delta. You need, in order to go from ACC to PCC, 125 hours. So if you had 60 hours of your ACC training, where did you get your ACC training?
I got mine through Minna Brown. She's coaching Coach Academy International. She's based in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, great. So you probably would have had 60 hours with her. So you need another 65. So you'll see again, there's 113 course hours. So that means you don't have to come to every single class, but you need at least 65 to get you to a total of 125 for PCC. So that's what the ICF requirement is. So you give you way more than what you need for the requirement there. And
So
again,
are the hours that you pick up during that base level training that I've done add on to what you get for the PCC? Oh, I thought that you had to get another almost.
well, let me make a distinction. There's training hours, which you, for ACC, you needed a minimum of 60 plus 100 coaching hours
Right,
from the time you started your coach training.
right.
Now, in order for you to get to PCC as a total, you need 125 hours. So it would normally be 60. You've already have your 60. And if we wanted to do things in the most minimal way, we would put 65 hours here.
Okay.
But we've given, we think what will really get you to PCC is these 113 course hours.
Okay, so it bundles with the hours that you previously.
Yeah. You, in
Okay.
order to get your PCC, you need to have coached, so not
Right.
training 500.
Right,
So-
I've done, yeah, you have to have 100 hours for the ACC, and I've got about 600 right now.
Mhm.
So I need to focus on this piece. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Right. So you said you have 62 coaching hours because you shouldn't have gotten your ACC unless you had 100.
No, I have 100 hours, 62 hours of training, 150 hours of coaching at that
Okay.
time when I got my certification. I've got about 600 hours right now of coaching.
Okay, great. So then you're definitely, you're already there for what you need for your coaching hours. That's perfect. So Rick, back over to you. So level 2 accelerate again is like going from A to Z all at once. So this is, again, you need 125 course hours from the International Coach Federation if you want to do professional certified coach. And Shane, you could do this as well. If you wanted to do baby steps, you could start at level 1. If you wanted to do, go for it, I'm going to do the, you call that, shoot the barrel or something, you could do this all in one fell swoop. So again, it includes all of the live webinar sessions. It includes 6 personal coaching sessions. So you get coached by a professional certified coach, the mentor coaching, the one-on-one mentor coaching, the observed coaching. And I didn't say this for level 2 top up, but it also includes, so the students once a quarter, we tend to put them in a triad of where A coaches B coaches C, and C coaches A, so that you're learning from each other outside of the class time, developing relationships. There have been people that even they continue because they liked their group so much, they just keep continuing. Those hours also count towards pro bono hours. So if you're not yet at your 500, you're going to get some from coaching in this process. If you do the level 2 accelerate, we do ask for some additional reading and an action learning project. So we've had people do midday lunch, bring your own lunch series at their work where they're teaching ontological distinctions. Some of the hours of learning are created for this special project. So Shane, this might be you doing a whole thing of like how ontology fits into surfing. Like, what is it about what I believe my body can do or can't do that makes me a worse or a better surfer? Like, what is the story I tell myself when I'm on the beach, or on a wave that will help me or not help me? So it's all, again, Rick was talking about horses before. It's like, you just, my trainer just says, Libby, just think canter. think collected canter, just think Piaf, you know, like, because your body's already transmitting this information around. So that's those are all of the programs. So these four basically are all the programs. I'll say one other thing. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong button. The create your own program is like, if you're kind of like, there's sometimes people need coach continuing education units because they're close to every 3 years, you have to get a certain number of, it's like any profession, accounting and lawyers and doctors, you have to get a certain amount of repeat learning to hold your credential. So Delta, this might be your case. I don't know when your credential expires or renews every 3 years. So
I
you
think
might.
I think I have a year and a half.
Okay. So you're pretty good, and you could probably go, if you have 18 months, you could probably get yourself so that you're already applying for your PCC in there. But the create your own is like, I'm betwixt and between, I need some of this and I need some of that, or I'm going for my MCC, but I really want to do this foundations of ontological learning piece. And it allows you to do that. So it's kind of, again, mix and match dojo approach to learning. Let me just show you a couple of things. So when you register, there's a full online calendar. So you'll get a link from us. You can put it in iCal or Google Cal or Outlook or whatever else, so that you'll know when these classes are. We also send out reminders and things like that so that you'll be able to participate. Again, I think up to, Lauren, is it correct? Up to 50% can be done asynchronously in all of the programs.
Yes.
Right. So for those of you on different time zones, if you need to, again, we think the live interaction is the best, but if you need to, because you've got a business meeting, you've got whatever, if you can't make it, it's fine. You can get the recording and you can still get credit for that. There's a way of getting credit for that. So that's one thing. I'll give you an example. This is, again, we don't put like January to June on here because you can start and finish anytime. It really depends on how quickly or slowly you want to do the program. We have some people in the Gaining MCC, the Master Certified Coach program, they feel like it's taking a sip from a fire hose because there's all the classes and mentor coaching and getting their recordings and reciprocal peer coaching. And it's like, sometimes they're like, what do I do? So you can make this as squishy, as intense, or as relaxed as you want it. So there's no deadline for you to finish. So we say to you that you can stay in the classes. So we have one woman who has been in our classes, I think 3.5 years. Just because she hasn't yet been satisfied with her recording and she still wants to be in the community. So there's no limit for that. We want you to stay with us until you pass your exam. Generally, people take between 9 and 18 months to finish any of the programs. I think we've had one person do it in like 6.5. But mostly, it depends on you're working full time, you're not working full time, how much dedication you have to to complete these steps. But generally, whatever month you start, Lauren will send you this detailed welcome packet email thing that's got a gazillion links in it, and then she will handhold, we call that handholding here, of making sure that you're set up and you know what to do and you know how to get on, and it's always the same Zoom link, etc. You'll start your one-to-one coaching very soon after you start, so you get the sense of being coached on real issues that matter to you. Again, the special projects is only for the PCC Accelerate, so we'll start to help you craft that. And like, I don't want you to think about like, oh my God, it's like a doctorate or a thesis. It's like, what's something that you would want to produce that would make, this even better for you? So we had two students last year create an entire somatic workshop that they delivered to leaders that they knew, but they worked on it together. and, did a whole debrief around it. And so it was something that they can now reproduce in their own practices. And then the observed practice, for those of you that have to produce a recording, and, so anybody that's going to be in level 1 or level 2, the good news is we are, probably doesn't matter to most of you, but the ICF has now moved from ACSTH and ACTP accreditations to level 1, level 2, and level 3 accreditations. So we've already got the highest accreditation. So we will be able to this year actually confer the diplomas ourselves of level 1 and level 2. Level 3, everywhere you have to submit to the ICF, but that doesn't concern most of you, I don't think. Let's see, I think
Ask a
that.
question a little
Sure,
bit about that one.
absolutely. Mhm.
So I may need a little bit of a mentor to help me decide what I should be doing right now, just from the standpoint of, I think I've got a lot of education hours, a lot of coaching hours, how do I put that all together? What should I really be thinking about to kind of fill out, where I want to be from an accreditation perspective? But also, as I've looked into it so far, it looks like it's taking up to 22 weeks or something like that for packages to be reviewed and approved. And so that last comment that you just made, is that something that you all are doing? And so, an individual doesn't have to wait 22 weeks potentially to do that.
Yep, that you have hit the nail exactly on the head, which is, that is the good news about this, which is we are able to essentially do what the ICF is overwhelmed in doing. So we have 2 people that are, myself and one other senior coach, who can confer the degree. So it's still the same criteria, but you don't have to wait 22 weeks. You might have to wait 2 weeks, maybe 3, depends on our schedules and our ability to come together and look at the markers and make sure that you've passed. Okay. So again, just this is, of course, comes to the money stuff. We don't want anyone not to do this because of money. This is not what we do full time for a living. Like, this is what we do because we're passionate about it and we want to have amazing coaches work in the world. I think there's a lot of kind of pop-up shops that are just like, oh yeah, get your coach training and, quickly. And then, they turn out a lot of people, but they don't really have, what they need to be extraordinary coaches. So whatever program you choose, we charge 0% interest. You pay over time. There is a $500 non-refundable registration fee that's included, like it's not additional. If you decide at any point that this is not the program for you, we will prorate back minus that 500 any monies you may have given us. Obviously, if you've been in class and you've used mentor coaching or observed coaching, we have to pay our staff for that. But so far we haven't, except for one person who had her mom was sick. That's the only person that has disenrolled. And that's absolutely fine with us. During COVID, so you pick your own payment plan. Obviously, we're not going to confer the degree upon you until you pay us, but you pick your own payment plan. So during COVID, we had a couple of people who lost their job and they were like, oh my God. And we're like, okay, it's okay. Don't pay for a little while. See how it goes. We do this because we want amazing coaches. And we want people to really see the value of learning ontological coaching and developing that so that they can go out and make huge difference in the lives of other people, whether it's in business or surfing or horses or whatever. These skills translate into leadership work. They translate into many different disciplines if you are given the distinctions to see them. So next steps, if you're interested, obviously you can register right away on our website. If you have any questions, like technical questions about how to do that, reach out to Lauren. Lauren, I think you've already done, but if you put your email in the chat, you can sit in on one free class of the area that you're most interested in. So again, level 1, level 2 go together, but you'd certainly be welcome to sit in on a class if you're not sure that you want to come. And if you know of, it says diversity, but we also have merit scholarships. If you know of, deserving people who really couldn't otherwise be able to do this, we want to support that in some way. So again, we don't have unlimited funds here, but we are, we try to get some of our staff to do some pro bono work for us as it relates to scholarship folks. And I think that's really it. And I know, Cecilia, you can't talk, but you're welcome to if you want. You might not have had enough information, but let me start actually, because Rick and Delta were here the longest. So just Rick, anything that you want to say to be complete, or questions you have or things like that?
Yeah, I'm wondering if someone would be willing to kind of chat with me at some point, just to kind of help me understand what might be the best option for me, because I'm not just after the information presented, I may have a number of things that could be in play, and I may just need to be topped off as we've used in the call today. So it's just hard for me to be able to say, yeah, that's the program for me. It's starting from scratch going forward, because there could be a lot of things that actually I've already qualified for. And so I've been told that I could also, I guess, become a member of ICF and get a what do they call it? A credentialing mentor or something like that. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what's the right step for me, and before I commit to a program that might feel redundant. And again, I don't mean any disrespect to the program, because it looks amazing and wonderful and things like that. But I'm also kind of looking at where I am in my career and what I want to start doing. And some of these credentials are important for me to have sooner rather than later. So maybe just someone that could share with me kind of what would make sense based on my specific situation.
Yeah, if you have time right after this, Lauren and I may be able to stay for a little bit. And if not, we can set something up for you and Lauren to start to talk first. And then if you need me, I can come back in. Okay.
Yeah, why don't we set up some time, Lauren? You have my email address. You can just reach out.
I'll be in touch straight away. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Great.
You're
Delta?
welcome.
I think I'm pretty clear about what the process is, and I'm very interested in the learning opportunity for this approach, adding that tool to the toolkit, so to speak. And I think I'd be interested in sitting in on, it said that you could visit class, one of the slides previously. So if that's a possibility, I would be interested in doing that, just to get a feel as well.
Absolutely. Lauren will be in touch with you about, one of the classes that are coming up in the next week or two.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Shane, what say you? Can't hear you just yet.
Sorry, I'm just working on a homework assignment. I think that sounds great, and I love what you guys are doing. This is so amazing. I have a friend that wanted to join, but I think the date just snuck up on him too quick. Would I be able to share the recording that you share with me with him, or should
Absolutely.
I just tell him to sign up for the next one?
No, we can send him a recording. Absolutely. No problem.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Awesome.
Great. And Cecilia, up to you if you want to say anything to be complete. Okay. I'm guessing no.
Sorry, I messaged Lauren separately, and
Okay.
I'll wait for that. Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Great. Well, listen, I want to thank you all for being here. Sounds like you're all on individual and very interesting journeys, and very happy. Hopefully we can be of service to you at some point. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions, or come sit in on a class or whatever. It's been my pleasure to meet you, and I hope I will see you in one of the classes at some point soon. And if not, go well. And thank you so much for being here.